Why is this lawsuit getting so much attention right now? You all remember the crash, right? The illegal U-turn on Florida's Turnpike that shocked the entire trucking industry. Imagine missing a phone call from your mother and never getting the chance to call her back. That's exactly what happened to a 22-year-old Angeline Dowdian. Today, she's speaking publicly for the first time after losing her mother in one of the most controversial trucking crashes we've seen in recent years. According to this report, Angeline was living overseas at the time. She hadn't seen her mother in about 6 years, but they spoke every day through video calls. On the day of the crash, her mother called. Angeline missed the call. A short time later, she learned that her mother had been killed in a devastating crash on the Florida Turnpike. Now, nearly a year later, Angeline has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against multiple parties involving in the crash, including the truck driver, White Hawk Carriers, and the freight broker C.H. Robinson. According to investigators, that semi-truck made a U-turn through an area designated for official use only, blocking all northbound lanes of traffic. A minivan carrying 3 occupants collided with the trailer. All 3 occupants were killed. One of the victims was Angeline's mother, Faniola Joseph. Now, here's where the story becomes much larger than a tragic accident. The lawsuit alleges that White Hawk Carriers had a history of safety violations that were publicly available through the federal safety records. According to the complaint, those records included prior crashes, unsafe driving violations, hours of service violations, and vehicle maintenance concerns. The family's attorneys argue that this was not simply an unavoidable accident. In fact, one attorney made a striking statement saying this was not an accident, it was a predictable end. But here's the question many people are asking: why now? Why is this lawsuit getting so much attention right now? The answer may have less to do with the crash itself and more to do with the major Supreme Court decision handed down just a few weeks ago, which I reported on. On May 14, 2026, the United States Supreme Court issued a unanimous 9-0 ruling in the case called Montgomery versus Carib Transport. The case involves a man who lost part of his legs after being struck by a truck operator by a carrier hired through the freight broker C.H. Robinson. The victims argued that the broker should never have hired that carrier in the first place because of safety concerns. For years, freight brokers have argued that federal law protected them from those types of negligent hiring lawsuits, but the Supreme Court disagreed. In a unanimous decision, the court ruled that the freight broker can be sued under state negligence laws when they are accusing of hiring unsafe carriers. That doesn't mean that brokers are automatically liable every time a crash occurs, but it does mean the plaintiff now has a much clearer path to argue that the freight broker should have known about the carrier's safety history before awarding him the freight. And that's exactly why this Florida lawsuit is being watched so closely. The family isn't just suing the driver. They aren't just suing the carrier. They are also suing one of the largest freight brokers in North America. If this case moves forward like the other one, it could help define how much responsibility brokers have when selecting carriers moving forward. Some believe that this is going to improve safety throughout our industry. Others argue it could increase insurance costs, create more litigation, and make it harder for smaller carriers to secure freight. Another interesting development is that White Hawk Carriers has reportedly ceased operation. However, the family's legal team has raised concerns about whether companies with poor safety histories can simply reopen under a different name, something commonly called in our industry chameleon carriers. Meanwhile, the truck driver continues to face criminal charges related to the crash. At the end of the day, the story isn't just about a lawsuit. It's about 3 people who lost their lives. It's about a daughter who missed her mother's final phone call. And it's about an industry that continues to wrestle with questions surrounding safety, accountability, carrier oversight, and broker responsibility. So now I want to turn it over to you. Should freight brokers be held responsible if they hire a carrier with significant safety violations, or should the responsibility remain solely on the carriers and the drivers? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I'm Ronan, and I'll catch you in my next video.